old rotten grown over logs, and they make little pipelines for root. And if you dig carefully into the moss, and now I'm down to the old rotten wood. The moss is removed, and now I have the rotten wood from the tree that fell down, and hope some roots that'll follow this path. And of course, the issue here is we don't want to be harvesting roots that are from twin flower or roses or whatever. And we are in a fairly pure spruce stand, so probably the major roots are going to be spruce. I'm going to try and get all the way down to the bottom of this log and see what we have in here, and then we'll decide whether this is a good spot or not. Now that's a nice root. And then let's see what else we have in here. Interesting though, this root is not following the old log, but you know, it's an opportunist world. And this would be a nice size root to use. So one of the things to think about is, you know, a spruce tree puts out thousands of roots. And so there's a huge network of these things down here. And we're going to be harvesting a few of them. Yeah, so we are into a good bunch of spruce roots here. And, you know, the thing to keep in mind is once these roots have been disturbed, then the tree sends out a bunch more. You know, they are trying to get back to this area again, so they recover pretty quickly. But you don't want to go all the way around a tree. You know, stay to one side of a tree and harvest some roots, and then go to it. You know, you could effectively girdle a tree by taking roots from all the way around it. So I would follow this one out until I get to a good spot to quit. And now you can see here where I have a joint. I have a fork in the root and a kink in the root. Let's see if I can make that more visible. See how that funny kink, and that kink is, you can't use that, for sewing. And so I may just quit going this direction for now and follow it the other direction and see what I find. Well, what's really neat about this particular spot that we just lucked into is that we have a wide variety of root diameter. We have this really beautiful, delicate one here, and then we have some bigger ones here. And they all have their own particular uses. You can even split these small ones, but you can also use them in the full round. And remembering that once you take the bark off of this, this root becomes half that diameter of the size you're going to use. So these are all great for different uses. I mean, this is just basically sewing material for binding the edge of a basket or sewing two things together. And, you know, something this big could be used for the stiffener, the perimeter around a basket, and you would split that. This one may even be big enough to do this one to do a 4 split, so you make it into 2 hemispheres, and then you split off one fat face, which gives you 2 ribbons, so they're flat on both sides rather than hemispherical. So these are all excellent roots for various types of projects. However, here we have a really good example of all fungus growing below the soil, aiding the uptake of nutrients and sharing of nutrients by the tree. So this is mycorrhizae, hyphae, all of that white stuff. And it's just everywhere. You can just see it. It's just all a super part of the soil. So this is a wonderful network of roots, and we are going to, in order to follow these out and get nice long ones, we're going to have to peel this moss layer back. And what I'm trying to do is peel it back in such a way that I can take this entire moss mat and put it back in place when we're done, because we want to heal this area as fast as possible so that the new roots can get established. And it's just being respectful to the forest and to the trees. So just be mindful of pulling the moss mat back and not just tear it all to smithereens, but try and keep it in nice pieces that we can flop back over again. There you can see two forks in this larger root. This root forks to this one and this little guy there. And then it's kind of neat the way this one goes over the top of this big guy. I've been following this root out, and then I just came to the end of it here, and you can see how the ends are usually really branched and they're getting into these tiny little fuzzy root hairs. And at this point, this end of the root isn't much good to us. It's really this straight, uninterrupted shaft that is the best. So now we can turn around and follow this root going the other direction to where we're happy with that one. So these roots, before we use them in craft, we will peel them all. So if you kind of booger up the bark like there in the digging process, it's fine, because this will all that bark will be gone by the time we get around to using them. You still want to be careful not to booger up the root itself, but if you lose a little bark, it's not a problem. You know, and you just want to be careful. You know, it's better to follow a root to its end and then pull it out from underneath other roots rather than constantly breaking roots to set it free, because that minimizes your overall damage. So this one I started down on this end and I thought it would run out, but it's a branch of this much bigger root. And so I'm going to just leave that one, since that's a short root anyways. I'm going to leave that one reestablish itself. I'm not going to take that one. So this root we followed to its end where it's all branched, and now we've run into a larger root, so we're going to just cut it off where it branches off of its main root here, and that way we can just save that one as is. It's a little short and a little branchy, but there's a nice long, you know, that section of it is beautiful, and even this up here is nice, so that's a keeper for sure. Well, we are going to say we have a nice selection of root from this spot, and there's still a lot of root connected down there, so the tree's got plenty to survive on. And now we're going to try and put this back in its as close as we can assimilate its original condition here. And it was nice that we left this moss and kind of rolls, put it back. So an easy one here. And what's neat about this twin flower is that it has long horizontal stem, so even though we pulled it up, it's connected for sure.